Hello, everybody. Welcome back to week 2. I'm going to hop on just because sometimes I can't see the comments. And today there was technical difficulty. So if you were here at 3:30, then I am a few minutes late. And welcome. Excited to get started. So this is all about week 2, rethinking self-care during the pandemic. Thank you so much for joining me for the live. My name is Dr. Sara Smith, or if you are catching the replay, thank you. Make sure that today you have a journal and a pen with you, or at the very least, a piece of paper. I'm going to wait just a few minutes to see if people hop on, so you can share with me how you are doing today. This is a really cool topic. It's one that is near and dear to my heart that I have done a lot of help on. I've had a lot of help with this particular topic. So it is something that when I'm sharing it with you, I have tried and have worked with all the things that are helping manage these expectations. So make sure again that you have a pen with you and a journal or a piece of paper, and let's get started. So first of all, what is an expectation? An expectation, I want to share with you, is a belief that someone will or should achieve something. A belief that someone will or should achieve something. Okay, so we all have expectations, and usually we have expectations of ourselves. We have expectations of those around us, and we tend to be training people so that they also have expectations of us because we've trained them. And isn't that wonderful? Expectations are something that can slip into a lot of your everyday life and be kind of wreaking havoc, and causing a lot of sabotage when you really didn't even know that it was going on. As one of my very beloved mentors has shared with me, she calls it the crazy 8, the cycle of we have an expectation and then we have a disappointment. It's always followed. And then we have another expectation and then we have another disappointment. Because when we have this belief, it is just that, a belief that someone should or will achieve something. So the reason why I want you to have your pen and your paper today is I want to ask you a few questions before we get into some of the tools of how we work with this. What do you feel strongly about as far as what you are achieving or doing? What are those things in your life? So think about personally, think about with your own self-care, think about with your health, think about with your kids, your partner, think about career, think about coworkers, think about your work expectations, think about your expectations of yourself as a community member or a spiritual person. What do you feel strongly about that you should be achieving? And if you're watching the replay of this, then I would suggest just pause it and take a little bit of time to journal this. If you're just listening along, which is sometimes just as great, and letting go of the expectation of doing it perfectly, then just think about this real quick. What are some of those things that you're doing? Now, the next question that goes along with this is, what do you feel strongly about what others should be achieving or doing? What is it that others should be achieving or doing? What are those expectations that you feel have been really important for others to achieve? So maybe in regards to children, maybe that's that they are getting good grades or that they care about their schoolwork during the middle of the pandemic. Or perhaps it is with a partner or a spouse. Do they do what they are supposed to do because you believe that they should be doing it? What are the expectations that you have for coworkers? What are the expectations that you have for your boss? So kind of be thinking, what is it that you feel really strongly about that others should achieve or do? I really would suggest to dive into these questions because they're great. Now, the last one is, how have you trained others to be expecting things of you? So I want to give some examples of this. So in my own life, at work, I was training other people to expect me to, let's say, clean my room, and that it was always going to be clean every single time because we had to clean the rooms in between the patients. Okay. And I might have been expecting that of someone else. And so if I had an off day, they were expecting me to do that. Yet I wasn't necessarily sharing that I had an off day. At home, I might be training other people to expect me to meal plan, to come up with what we're going to be having for dinner. That's a great one for me because I tend to be the health nut in the family. And so I tend to be the one who's like, no, let me completely control what it is that we're going to be eating. Because if I don't, then it might not be healthy enough. Well, the truth is then I am setting the expectation for those around me to expect me to meal plan because I'm showing them that this is something, this bar needs to be achieved. This level of health and wellness with 50 vegetables in each meal. Just kidding, but sometimes it's been 8. I will tell you that secret in my life. Very thankful for my nutritionist who knocked me down a little bit. I had set that bar. I'd set that expectation there. And so no one else really could touch it because I wasn't letting them because I had this expectation of what the meal should be looking like. Okay. And it was actually starting to implode on me. So sometimes our expectations of ourselves or of other people, or that we have trained other people to have with us, they start to implode. They start to create massive amounts of stress. The way you were functioning during the pandemic is going to be different. Everything has shifted. There is massive amounts of pain and suffering going on right now. And if it's not related specifically to COVID-19, somebody knows somebody that's dealing with something really tragic. There have been deaths unrelated to COVID-19. There have been, that I have had friends and family that have been dealing with. There have been marriages that have been put off. There have been, teachers who are like mourning the fact that they're not in school anymore, or kids that are missing their graduation. There's just stuff going on. My biggest joke right now is it's like, do we have to have a rainy day? Do we have to have a rainy day right now? Can't every day be 75 and sunny? Not in Florida, where we can be able to just let go a little bit. Okay. So sometimes we have these expectations and they're really creating extra stress. Maybe from the questions that I just asked, you've thought about already the fact that, gosh, maybe I'm still having the expectation that the housework looks exactly like this, or my kids' homework looks exactly like that, or my work day looks like X, Y, and Z, when perhaps that expectation is not really in alignment with what's possible. One of the biggest things that I keep finding with my clients and with myself in my own business is that I want to keep pushing. I want to keep doing. I want to keep producing. But right now, the main thing that keeps coming to me when I'm doing my meditations and prayers is rest, rest. Go slow. Everything's fine. It's all happening in divine order. And so the expectations, if I'm setting the bar too high for myself and for others, and I'm not communicating that my expectations have changed with what I had trained everybody else for, then there's going to be a lot of stress in the day. It's not necessary. So we want to start shifting that. Now, I want to give you some examples because expectations end up building pressure in your system. They literally create tension. They create issues with sleep. So sleep disturbances come in. They can create stress response in your body, which sets off a whole endocrine hormonal cascade response that is not beautiful, and it is not just related to women, by the way. Expectations are like clutter because they clutter your brain. And there's lots of clutter that can sometimes come into our lives, especially right now as we're all home. We have the clutter of our home that we're looking at. I love hearing how like Lowe's, Home Depot, and mom and pop stores are like bursting at the seams with people doing at-home projects because they're at home and they now can take care of these projects. So some people are really like able to just declutter right now. That may be you, that you also maybe not be decluttering at all because you're trying to keep it all together. But expectations, the old ways of doing things, thoughts sometimes will clutter our brain, just like the clothes in the closet or the 50,000 things in the closet or the pantry are cluttering your physical space. Sometimes it's important to recognize that we have to declutter, we have to clear away what no longer works in order to have space and simplicity to release the pressure valve. I'm always interested in finding ways to release the pressure for my clients. And that means, because you're listening right now, that I'm doing the same thing for you. I'm interested to help you discover how to release the pressure. So when you think about your closet, okay, and let's say there's just tons of clothes in this closet and we're just stuffing more clothes in. We're just stuffing. Okay? Stuffing more clothes in the closet. Eventually there is nothing left. It's bursting at the seams. And then we can't even really find what the heck we want to wear. Like we're like, I don't even know what I want to wear. I need new clothes. Does that ever happen to you? Like, have you ever had this moment where you're just like, never mind, I just need new clothes. I don't have anything. It's usually because there's just so much in there that you can't even focus. Expectations are the mental example of that. These beliefs that come in, these shoulds, these have tos, these I must achieve. Something must happen. That's the definition of an expectation. And all these are thoughts. The brain is habitually negative. Right now, if you watch the news a lot, it'll really create extra negativity. Potentially, it can also be a wonderful way to increase your activism and to help out. But if you get into that place of negativity, then it can be really challenging. So we need to declutter the mind. We need to go, where can we release the pressure? Okay? So with that being said, the other thing that happens with expectations is the more expectations we have, the more to-dos we have, the more what's called decision fatigue comes in. Most every entrepreneur and business person that's in a career and they have some sort of personal life whatsoever runs up against decision fatigue at some point in time, if not very often. And that decision fatigue is a real thing. It means that, even just something so simple as meal planning or figuring out what to wear for the day becomes a big deal. And you're like, I just don't want to make another decision. So we want to clear that out. I want to ask you, get out the journal and the pen again, okay? What is it that you can do to relieve this pressure of expectations? So if it's around making meals right now, how can you release that pressure? And I want you to use, this is something that I use a lot. It's called the volume dial. So let's say your expectations, we're going to use the example of meals or healthy meals or home cooked meals or meals that don't cost too much money, whatever it is up on like a 10. You're like, okay, I've really got, this must be achieved. I must achieve this. And it's up on a 10. That's going to create a lot of stress and tension. How can we turn that volume down to like a 4 or 5 so we still have the intention there, but we don't have the massive amounts of tension in our body and stress and overthinking in our head to where we have to achieve it and it's got to look just so. When we're up on a 10, it's got to look just so. When we take it down to like that 4 or 5, it doesn't necessarily have to look any particular way. We're relieving the pressure. If you think about your to-do list right now regarding work, then if it's up on a 10, usually how can we release that expectation down to like a 5 so that you still, or maybe it's a 6 or 7. Go for it. You get to choose with the volume dial where you're toggling, okay? But we want to take it from the 10 where we're in ultra expectation, ultra go, go, go mode. We can be there, but stress response wise, our body is not designed to be at a level 10 in any particular area of our life. So if you go back to week 1 that we did last week with the wheel of life, we're not really supposed to be dialed up on a 10 in all areas of our life at all times. It's too much. We have to kind of dial things back a little bit so we release the stress, we release the pressure. We've got to find for you the pressure valve release so that we take the expectations, we take the shoulds, we take the I have to achieve this, or they have to achieve this, or I need them to achieve this, or I need me to achieve this, and we got to turn it down a little bit. We're still achieving, but it's with more relaxation and chillness, let's say. Okay? So, the other thing I want you to consider, and this is a great tool, I want you to journal about this, is what does it feel like in your body when your expectations are ramped up to a 10? What does it feel like in your body? Put it in the comments if you're willing to share. Is it tension in your abdomen? Do your shoulders really rise? Does your jaw tighten? Do you feel anything clenching? What does it feel like to you? Do you feel like you're all up in your head? Where is your awareness with the physical body? What might it feel like if you dialed down some of the expectations to a 2 or 3? Would that feel scary? Would that feel amazing? What would it feel like then if you dialed it to like a 5, halfway? Leave it in the comments. What would these things feel like in your body? I really am interested to know. So please plug it into the comments. Please share. Really, really important. Okay, what else to tell you guys? Oh, this is a good one. There's usually a voice that comes along with expectations of these shoulds, these I must achieve, they must achieve, they should be doing this, I should be doing that, I need to be doing that. I want you to get really familiar and dig a little bit into what is that voice of expectation? What does it sound like? What does it act like? Does it have a character with it? Do you have a visualization or a cartoon in your head that's like, oh, that is what it's like? That voice of expectation is like this little, mine is like a little person with a little clipboard, and they're just like, come on, Sarah, you got to do. Okay. And it's got to look like this. It's got to look really perfect. That's mine. What's yours? You really want to be familiar and hone in on what that expectation, what that voice is. The last thing that I want to share with you is a story. So expectations, like I've been sharing, they build up pressure in our system. And this pressure over time becomes a burden that we carry on us. We just carry it within our body. Literally, it's like stuffing these things down, or they're weighing us down. Now, on the physical realm of that can show up as sleep disturbances, that can show up as urgent living, that can show up as tension in your body, neck pain, migraines, back pain, pelvic pain. It can show up as kind of a hormonal or stress response, overthinking, not being able to focus, not having enough clarity, poor posture where you're just hunched over because you're just literally kind of in this burdensome state. Okay. Weight gain too. That's the physical manifestation of that. So we have to have a release of this pressure. So I'm going to tell you a story. I'm going to make it really quick. The other morning I was doing, which I do not do every single day, but I was doing a prayer and my morning meditation with a little bit of journaling. And it came to me that being a helper and someone who identifies as being a healer and being somebody who is leading others in transformative experiences in their life, there's a lot of times where I don't mean to, but there's pressure to help people. There is pressure to fix. As being a physical therapist, it's one of the things that we're most common for us is that people come to us and they're like, fix me, just fix me. So that pressure, all of a sudden I could feel that as if it was like a turtle shell of lead on the back of my body. And it was so heavy and I was like, oh, this is just burdensome. So what I did was I really love this concept of, especially when we're trying to create a new habit, we want to create new neural pathways with our body. We want to get ourselves out of the old and do something new and out of the norm. And so I coupled my experience with movement, where not only was I just in a prayer meditative state, but I actually acted like this turtle shell of lead, just burdensome pressure was on me. I could feel it. And so I unclicked the piece of it and I pulled it around and I just brought it to the front and I was like, here you go. Take that for me. Now, interestingly enough, the Bible talks about this. Many spiritual texts talk about this. It's like, let it go, shed it, shed it, shed it. But the more pressure that you have, the more thoughts you have, the more expectations, the more to-do lists, the more that junk that you have got floating around in your body and in your life, the more clutter that we have physically, we have to constantly shed it. And so taking that sort of exercise and tool where you act like you've got a turtle shell of just all this stuff on you and you are releasing it and giving it back, being like, here you go, God, take it because it's too much for me. That is so, so, so powerful. You should potentially feel some sort of release after that. For me, I feel like really light and airy and like, okay, I can breathe again. For you, if it's not that particular exercise, it might be physically removing clutter from your home. Go through the pantry and think about what are the things that don't need to be there. If it's something that's still in date, there's a lot of food banks that need help right now. There's a lot of school kids that are needing assistance who are not getting their meals. It's a big problem, for example, on the Eastern Shore. And I've been so honored and amazed and just crying my little heart out seeing all of my friends and who are helping. Go through your clothes, clear things out, clear out a closet, start with a drawer, but literally physically start releasing this expectations. And you can do that with the intention of clearing your physical space. So sometimes we just have to make an intention around the physical space. So I could talk forever. I'm going to go ahead and close it out today. If you are catching the replay, leave in the comments here how this was for you, what you discovered, or send me a private message. If you would like, the Wild and Bright Sanctuary, the free private Facebook group, is for women who are really needing that safe space to come and be uplifted with inspiration and more trainings. I've got some great things in the mix there. If you are feeling like you are needing more one-on-one support, then and you've really enjoyed this rethinking self-care during the pandemic, then get in touch with me. I have a few spots left, like not many, and I have several calls planned. But if you are wanting support, reach out because I do have a few spots available. You can always reach me at drsarasmith.com. I have a 30-minute complimentary appointment. And there is I have several new podcasts that are dropping. So like there's lots of cool, fun new ways to interact with me. Next week, it's going to be week 3. We're going to be getting all into control and how to set up your morning and evening routine and setting some stuff up to talk about some core confidence. So I've got a lot planned. It's still kind of percolating in the old brain and core. So we will figure out what it will shape into, but I cannot wait to see you guys again. Reach out to me if you need any support, and thank you so much for watching today.